Yeah.
There's so much shit I have to remember right now, man. I wrote down everything because...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's okay, if you turn on the air conditioner in the bedroom, you need to go to this little closet area where the actual engines for the air conditioners are. And then you got to turn on 2 fans to blow out the hot air that's generated by one of them. It's this whole thing.
2 fans? What is this? Our Discord? Did I get it? Did I get it?
That's a good zinger. Yeah, there's more fans in this house than in our Discord because I counted them yesterday, and my girlfriend's mom has 12 fans that I could see. There may be some hidden away.
Right.
And she said something like, "I just really like fans."
Is she suicidal?
No. Yeah, that puts to bed that whole thing, which was a real thing, the fan death.
Sure, but not really. But
I mean, a thing that people believed in.
Oh, well, I thought it was...
believed in.
I thought it was... No, I thought it was a psyop by the totalitarian government, that they use that as a way to... as an excuse for when they murdered people. Wasn't that the verdict?
I don't know. I never heard that theory, but that's hilarious.
Yeah, that was the way I heard it.
How could we get away with just murking people on the sly? We'll say the fan did it.
Yeah.
The fan put 2 bullets in the back of the head.
It would be akin to have you heard the thing he hung himself on his doorknob? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be the same thing. Fan death. Anyways,
I don't know where fan death really comes from, but it is kind of interesting. I was very fascinated by it when I first moved here, and it seems still like some people, even my girlfriend, is kind of weird about. She doesn't really believe that shit, but there's this obsession with opening the windows all the time, even in the dead of winter.
Sure.
I don't know, whatever. It's just cultural normal shit. All right. But let's kick it off here, I guess.
Might as well.
Maybe we should devote part of an episode to fan death. I'm thinking about it now.
Yeah, might as
Dive
well.
in deep on that shit.
He walked out in the gray light and stood, and he saw for a brief moment the absolute truth of the world. The cold, relentless circling of the intestate earth. Darkness implacable. The blind dogs of the sun in their running. The crushing black vacuum of the universe. And somewhere 200 animals trembling like ground foxes in their cover. Borrowed time and borrowed world and borrowed eyes with which to sorrow it.
And lo, for the earth was empty of form, and void, and darkness was all over the face of the deep, and we said, "Look at that fucker dance."
Welcome to Heat Death of the Two Nice Jewish Boys podcast universe, a podcast about enthusiastically pressing big red buttons and just giggling at and vibing out on genocide and sadism with our bros. It is 11:44 a.m. KST. It's a Saturday, year of our Lord 2024. Josh here, and over there is Tim, Hateful Tate Twins Buckner. How's it feel to be here once again on the only podcast that...
It's the only podcast that is currently taken over by Venezuelan gangs. I'm doing fantastic as usual in the middle of a heat wave. They're saying this is the hottest week of the year for my wonderful slice of Southern California. It's been hot, for sure. It's been pretty hot.
Gonna be getting a lot of that in the years to come.
That's the plan. That's the plan. Keep it going. Now, Josh, I sent you a tweet. And I said, "Hey, this is to remind me to talk about something."
Okay.
Did you hear that there's a new Linkin Park? There's a new Linkin Park song. And
have you heard this? Have you heard this, folks?
Have you heard about this? Have you seen this? They have a new song. They got a new singer. All this and that. Any of that come across your transom?
I mean, I heard about it from you. That's it.
I don't even really tell you. I just sent you this thing. Anyway.
Well, I mean, you sent me a link. That's what I mean.
Their new singer, I guess, is a Scientologist. Whatever. Former Scientologist. Who cares? I guess it's some broad. I don't know. Didn't hear the song. Don't care. But
it's a lady pervert.
I think that's what I heard. But maybe
I didn't look into it.
Yeah. But either way, this tweet that I sent you was someone explaining to a friend of mine about why it's not that big of a deal that the new singer, it's a lady. It's not a big deal that the new singer is a Scientologist. You know, oh, you're so quick to throw dirt on them after a 7-year hiatus, which it's like, I think we would already buried them. They've been gone for 7 years. We're not throwing dirt on them now. We've been throwing dirt on them for 7 years. Right? Like, we just don't care about Linkin Park anymore. They've been gone for 7 years. Why would I care? I haven't been still celebrating Linkin Park for the 7 years that they've been gone. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, but this person, their logic, and this was the part that I really appreciated, was that they go, plenty of people are Scientologists. Isaac Hayes is a Scientologist. My grandma on my dad's side was a Scientologist. And I'm just like, throwing Isaac Hayes in there, trying to do the heavy lifting. Like, plenty of random celebrities are Scientologists, and no one gives them a bunch of shit like Isaac Hayes. And then also, me, I'm fine with Scientologists also because my grandma was one. It's like, buddy, you're not like everyone. Not everyone can relate to my grandma was a Scientologist, so everything is fine. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's very funny to try to act as if you don't have a special connection to this where, yes, of course, you've processed and dealt with it and you're fine with it because your grandmother was a fucking Scientologist. To be like, just like everyone's got like, celebrity that they like Isaac Hayes, and grandparents that were Scientologists. We're all used to that, right? That's normal. Like, people are so fucking weird on the internet. It's amazing.
Yeah, people are, you compound that with Scientology and you get mega weird shit like this kind of fuckery. What they said something about the Danny Masterson trial. That was the part that more leapt out to me even, but
the new singer, I guess, was one of the people who like stood up for Danny Matheson at this trial.
She was supporting the guy who like very clearly raped a bunch of women.
Yeah. Which it is also like, come on, guy, was that like the only person you could find to be the new singer? There wasn't any other options out there? I mean, fuck.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost calling out for a TrueAnon style dive in on this frivolous bullshit that means nothing, but it could be funny to like make more hay of it than there really is. Like, Linkin Park is a psyop, has been since day one.
Right. I mean, that's kind of a thing. I mean, that is already a thing. There are people that say that like Linkin Park was like industry plant. They were like kind of put together.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because they were put together.
I was just totally making that up. I thought I was.
I mean, not necessarily that it's like a psyop, but they were an industry plant group where it was a one band, and then they put Chester in that band because he was in another place, and they were like, oh, these guys are really good musically. Maybe like they'd be better if they had a good singer. Let's put this guy who's like good looking and he can sing good. He's going to be with these, like it was like that thing. Which people say is like, oh, they were prepackaged to kind of be like the boy band of nu metal, which ended up working out. Now, the other thing that I found funny was like people defending it. And I wanted to, put this out there, but I was like, I don't know if it matters that I tweet this one out there, but like people being like, how do you think you were not friends with, you were not close to Chester, you don't get to decide what he would have wanted and say that he wouldn't like that they're doing this. You don't know. And these people were all close to him, so they know what he would have wanted. And I will say this about Chester Bennington, the former singer of Linkin Park. I do know one thing that he wanted for sure, which was to be dead. He definitely wanted that. So, I don't really think that any of the other shit that happened after that matters. Because usually when that's one thing that you want, and the one thing that you want is to just be dead, you're really just not going to give a shit about anything else after that. That's like kind of the whole fucking point.
People speculating on what, like, tragic suicide death victims, whatever.
Right.
People. It's always kind of, it's skin crawling, but it's kind of funny,
right.
I guess, in a morbid way. You see that a lot. I don't know. I feel like I've seen so many comments in my life of like, it's always like, I just want to watch some like live Nirvana video or something. Kurt would have this and that. I believe to quote you, you once said Kurt Cobain would have loved TikTok.
He would have.
Totally.
He would have had DID and he would have been trans or something, right? Isn't that what the kids say?
That's what that one like trans activist came out and said. That shit was fucking absurd.
That's pretty good. I like that.
He liked dressing in drag, but like, I don't know, people, that was a whole stupid thing online.
Right.
Basically, like, Kurt Cobain was trans because he wore a dress a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this seems to be like not helping any sort of cause to like help trans people not be ostracized or whatever.
Now, here's the other part of it, too, is like, okay, well, then shouldn't Dave Grohl be double canceled because the song should have been There Goes My Shiro?
Triple canceled because that song's not about him. At least that's what he claims, which is probably also a lie.
Wait, what? I've heard the opposite. I've heard him say that song was specifically about Kurt Cobain.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I probably the last time I read an interview with Dave Grohl was like 1996. But I thought there was a whole lot of stuff about like people are always reading into my songs. It's not true, and it's like I thought about one of their very like their first single or something the other day. This is really music corner here.
Sure. Actually, you know what? This is Google, so who knows? But it says Dave Grohl has never officially attributed who the song is about, and then it's about the common man.
Yeah, see, that's what I've heard. Yeah. That's what I've heard before. But the one song was called "I'll Stick Around." It's like that sounds like a real kind. It's kind of a shitty thing to say, actually.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you fucking checked out of here. I'll stick around.
Yeah, right.
I don't know, whatever. But today we're not going to focus on suicidal rock and rollers. No, that's what the kids call them these days, right?
Yeah.
Suicidal rock and rollers.
Yeah, the suicide rocks.
No, today.
That sounds like that's a place in Japan. The Suicide Rocks, doesn't it? Oh yeah, it's the Suicide Rock.
There's the Suicide. Well, there's the Suicide Forest.
There's a Suicide Forest. That's the Suicide 7-Eleven. Seems like a lot of people in Japan are killing themselves. Seems like
I just had this image in my mind of like somehow the Suicide Forest getting renamed the Jake Paul Forest or whatever. How tasteless that would be. He's the one who did that shit, right?
Yeah. That's. I think it was Logan Paul actually,
or whatever. One of those fucking.
Right, it was
dickheads.
the Paul. Yeah. It was one of those.
I thought I like kind of just think there's like one, and they like split into
switch
two,
back and forth.
They come back. Yeah.
The funny thing is that they look a lot more like different now. Like you can tell them apart by looking at them more. But it's too late because I already don't know which one's which name wise, so I'm never gonna figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're just the Paul, like the singular system that absorbs everything.
It definitely is Logan Paul. He's the one.
What was I saying? Oh, what we're gonna do today. So we watched a documentary, but before we get to that documentary teaser, it was recently Labor Day. Not the cool one, not May Day, but the other one. The other one where people are incentivized to go out and buy more shit and, put more weight on the backs of the workers.
Right.
The shitty one. But anyway, that time in U.S. history, an army of child laborers went to war against tycoons and won. Now,
you can't be calling them that, I don't think.
I was totally thinking about that when this came out of my mouth. I was like, fuck. And I was just like bracing myself for it. I was like, he's going to say it. He's gonna say something.
Pretty good.
Yeah, my mind went to the same exact place. So apparently, that old movie that I now remember seeing in the movie theater as a very young child, Newsies, was, I guess, loosely based on this, which is kind of funny because that's like the Disney version of this. So it's like the newsboys like breaking out into song and like, you know, it's this the sanitized whatever Disney version for kids. But we're going to give you the real shit, the real grim dark history. Actually, it's not too grim dark. It has a happy ending, sort of. I just like some of the old-timey language in here, too. It's kind of fun. For example, right off the bat, led by Kid Blink, a charismatic newsboy, the strikers demanded a raise. Kid Blink told over 5,000 followers. It's so funny how I read the words 5,000 followers and can only immediately first think of, like, online shit. Ain't that 10 cents worth as much to us as it is to Hearst and Pulitzer, who are millionaires? So basically, like, what they were pissed about is, like, the bundles of papers that these children, they're like, I think this is ages 7 to 12, generally, were this, like, very cheap source of labor for these gigantic newspaper monoliths. Got your Hearst. I feel kind of dumb for not realizing that Joseph Pulitzer was like this big newspaper guy. But anyway, I knew who William Randolph Hearst was.
And because they
Citizen
named
Kane himself.
They named those long cars that they drive dead people in after him, right?
Yes.
That's who he is?
Yes.
Or did he invent
Hearst? Yeah. The Hearst family fortune.
Yeah. He made Hearst.
It's very lucrative business. I mean, people are dying every day.
That's true.
And they can all afford to be driven in a hearse.
Mm-hmm.
Kid Blink might have read the papers he was selling. The newsboys knew Joseph Pulitzer and William Randolph Hearst, the two wealthiest media moguls in the country, competed to sell papers. Throughout the 1890s, the tycoons managed to raise their circulation to millions each day. Can you even imagine a world in which people read that many newspapers? I can. It was like 30 years ago.
Right.
But an army of... Actually, no. It couldn't have been that much. Back in these days, newspapers were like it. So, anyway. But an army of street urchins brought their empires crumbling down in only 2 weeks. That's a little bit of hyperbole, but I don't know. We'll see. How did this go down?
Wait, in what way do you think it's hyperbole? Sorry.
Brought down the empires of Hearst and Pulitzer? They didn't bring them down.
Okay. I mean...
They put enough, I mean, as we'll see, I mean, they ultimately end up putting enough pressure on them to get some of their demands met.
Yeah.
So it was a successful strike, but they didn't, like, destroy the fortunes of these robber barons.
So I guess it's just like the way that you understand them to mean brought them down. Like, brought them down from their position of strength to where they had to negotiate is how I take it. You know what I mean? Not like destroy.
Okay, I guess it's implied. I mean, it's also I feel like it's a little bit going for the sort of clickbait energy, which this website kind of has anyway.
Right.
Yeah. For anyone who gives a shit, I've been subscribed. I get an email from Weird History like every day.
Sure.
They seem to be affiliated with this website called ranker.com, which ranks things. It's just like lists of everything. Ranker
is a really cool website where people that I know who are really funny stand-up comedians can get paid like $100 to make lists of top 10 of like favorite chain pizza restaurants, or at least they used to be able to. They probably can't even make $100 off
probably
of
not
anymore.
Probably not anymore. Yeah,
that was probably like 15 years ago that you could do that, and now
I mean it's all crowdsourced anyway.
Yeah,
like it's all just people vote up or down on this shit.
Yeah, but you did mention what is it? Weird News. That's what you.
Weird History,
Weird History. So Weird History just made me think of the song that always gets stuck in my head, which is my parody version of the Weird Science song, but it's Queered Science. And it's you can put it together. You know what I'm saying?
Is that sung
it's my
sung
creation.
By Teen Laquifa?
Yeah. It's my creation. Is it queer? You know what I mean? You get it. Anyways.
I can imagine the whole thing Weird Al style.
It's pretty good.
Unfolded in my brain. Like other well-known strikes, including Rockefeller's Ludlow incident and London's Match Girls strike, the Newsboys strike made headlines, with the protesting children vowing they would certainly not use physical force. It's literally written out that way. And there's a hyperlink to something. I don't know what.
Probably the Three Stooges.
They would certainly not use physical force. Well, let's see how they back out of that promise in a way that I'm supportive of. Instead, the Newsies strategically took down two tycoons by outsmarting them. The kids were basically earning 26 cents a day and like working all day, and they would hustle really hard as midnight was approaching, because the newspapers would just like completely lose value like past that time. So they're like really just out like day and night hawking newspapers, hawk-to-in newspapers.
Right.
Also, they found out that the delivery man for the Pulitzer, whatever, one of the big newspapers, was shorting their bundles, just like taking newspapers out. And consequently, they tipped the man's wagon and stole his papers.
Hell yeah.
This action triggered a larger strike as the Newsboys demanded a rollback to 1898 prices. I guess I should have set up what time period this is. I kind of thought it was going to be like later than this for some reason. I don't know why. Like when I just saw the headline, I was like, oh, it's probably like the 20s or something.
Oh, I thought you were
But
saying
no,
that this just happened like this Monday on Labor Day.
Yeah, right.
This is what
happened on Labor Day. Yeah, Kid, what was his name? Kid Icarus, Kid Blink. Where was I? Yes, they demanded a rollback to the 1898 prices, which this is happening in 1899. So they just want the prices to go back to what they were like a year prior.
Sure.
So the very next day after they tipped this motherfucker's wagon and stole his shit, they created a union and announced they were on strike.
Hell
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Kid Union.
I mean, these are 7 to 12-year-olds. Like their leader was like 11 years old.
Damn, they should make a fucking Disney movie about this shit.
They should
Kid
make a
Union.
Cool, I want to see like I said earlier, like the grimdark version. I want to see like the fucking Zack Snyder verse fucking version of this shit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't really, but it would be funny. It would be really funny.
Right.
Just like this brooding character with like, he's 10, but he has like stubble, and his name is still, I keep forgetting it, Kid Blink.
Kid Blink, yeah.
Hey, Kid Blink, we gotta go on strike. Leave me alone, I'm brooding.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I see it. I've seen a picture of a kid with like a lazy eye. I'm sure that's Kid Blink. I'm sure that they called him that because one of his eyes is fucked up. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really identify in the photos who is who exactly, but yeah.
I wish I could remember, because the other day I had the strike of inspiration where there was like you know how like every movie trailer has to have like the 80s song or the like fucking lullaby kids song that's done in like a slowed down.
Yeah.
There was one that hit me where I was like, I can't believe they haven't fucking done that one, because I just found it very funny. But I wish I could remember now. Damn it. Because that would be perfect for our Disney Kid Union movie.
Wind Chimes Are Gay by Anal Cunt. Slow it down.
Yeah.
Or just make up. There probably is an Anal Cunt song called like Newsies Are Gay or like Unions Are Gay. There's gotta be.
Right.
To the listeners, type in the words anal cunt into your favorite search engine, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's the most hilarious band, one of the most hilarious bands ever.
Is Anal Cunt, it was also Leftover Crack, right? Is that...
I don't believe so, but I don't know. I don't really know.
I mean, it's not like exactly the same band, but it's like same members, and it's like Anal Cunt was like a joke or something. I think that was it. But anyways. Or no. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think that's right.
This is absolutely pointless. I cannot believe I'm doing this. And I just remembered it's choking it's Choking Victim and Leftover Crack. Leftover Crack was a joke band that was made by the people from Choking Victim. That was it. Anyways, this doesn't matter. No one cares about this.
I think that band played in my friend's attic in Milwaukee once.
That sounds
Leftover
right.
Crack.
That sounds right.
And I remember being like, that sounds stupid.
Yeah.
Not going.
Right.
Anywho, So, the July 1899 strike significantly disrupted New York's newspaper business. The editor of the New York World wrote to Joseph Pulitzer, warning, "The newsboys' strike has grown into a menacing affair." People spoke such a cooler way back then. Like, even dumbasses. I mean, I know this is like a stand-up bit that someone else has done probably, but like, it is actually. I'm literally just thinking of like a Greg Giraldo bit about how eloquent Civil War guys were, even if they were like illiterate and stupid.
Sure, yeah.
Like when you read their letters that they would write back home to their wives or whatever.
To their cousins who were also their wives?
Yes, exactly.
And they were also 13?
Hey, older than the Newsies.
That's true, that's true.
He also reported practically all the boys in New York and adjacent towns have quit selling. The advertisers have abandoned the papers. It really is a very extraordinary demonstration. That is pretty extraordinary. This happened in like a matter of like days, it looks like. Yeah, July 18th is when the whole thing got kicked off with tipping over that guy's wagon. And within the same month, at least, is when this guy is writing to Pulitzer about, you know, advertisers are already jumping ship and shit's hit the fan. But of course, they're not going to fold that easily. The newspapers depended on underpaid child laborers to distribute their papers. Cool. The newspaper tycoons immediately felt the results. At the World, the papers slashed their press run from 360,000 papers a day to 125,000 a day. The stunned editor said, "It really is remarkable the success these boys have had." That also seems like a nicer way that like someone up the chain in like a corporation would talk about any sort of union action, especially one that's actually working. Right. Like nowadays, you even like say the word union, and your boss is like yelling racial slurs at you and fucking slapping you and shit. It's like. It's just, right, especially if they're like in like private correspondence. Can you imagine reading like what, I don't know, whatever, pick anybody. I'll just say Bezos randomly, like what Bezos writes to like people like privately about like what he thinks about these fucking unions. I imagine it's not, wow, it's quite extraordinary what they've done here. Yeah.
Well, you know, it was a different time, as they talked about with the even going further back to the Confederate generals and the way that they talked. People used to talk like that. They used to be a lot more euphemistic with their language anyways. But I did think about, as you were talking about those CEOs freaking out and calling you slurs if you try to unionize, how much fun it would have been, and this would be like the perfect meeting of the minds, if Nathan J. Robinson, when Current Affairs writers were trying to unionize, if he had paid Nick Mullen to come and call all of the writers queer. Like he had him come in and play like a character and do like the Cumtown bit where he's calling all of the Current Affair writers, he's saying that they're all gay for wanting to form a union. I think that would be pretty good. And he does
it in African guy voice or Indian man voice. You must...
Yeah, he's doing characters the whole way through. He's picking up different ones. He does gay actor Michael Douglas, you know. He's like, if you guys start this union, I'm gonna suck your cocks.
That's how you bust a 5-person union of a sort of socialist magazine.
Yeah, exactly. You have the president of the DSA come and tell them that they're gay for trying to unionize. Everyone knows that.
Nick Mullen, president of the DSA.
Oh. Yeah, do you remember that? That was a long-running bit.
I guess I don't remember that. Anyway, that makes sense, though.
That was from early on. Yeah.
Yeah, those were the days when it was extremely hip to join the DSA. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hip to be queer. Anyways,
continue. The newsboys' strike stands out since children organized it. Thanks.
I mean, yeah.
Thanks, writer of this article, for letting me in on this insight.
Thanks for putting a button on that one, yeah.
Despite their young age, the Newsies were well coordinated. They managed to cut circulation of the targeted papers by nearly 2/3, with a group of 5,000 newsboys meeting in Irving Hall to state their demands. Most ranged from the age of 7 to 12 years old. The strikers targeted distribution points for the newspapers, meeting on Newspaper Row on July 22nd, 1899, to clash with wagons delivering papers. Boys threw fruit at delivery men and destroyed papers. Hell yeah. You scroll down and there's like a 10-year-old kid with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth and like 50 papers under his arm. What a time to be alive. So the newsboys weren't employees of the newspapers. No shit. This is starting another paragraph with Instead, okay, never mind. I'm going to skip this part. This is just explaining how they had to buy bundles of papers wholesale and like it was really hard for them to turn a profit. It was hard to turn a profit before the price hike even. So because of the Spanish-American War, newspaper sales, I guess, like skyrocketed, I guess. It's just kind of like giving some historical window dressing there. Where's the part? I want to get to some of their tactics here. Here we go. The striking newsboys attacked newspaper wagons, throwing fruit and stealing papers to prevent scabs from selling them. In Long Island City, newsies tipped over a delivery wagon and stole its papers. But the striking boys did set standards. While they tossed buckets of water on newsstand owners who refused to support the strike, leader Kid Blink promised they would refrain from dousing women. Quote, "A feller don't soak a lady," Kid Blink told his followers.
He's before his time. Before his time.
Is, you know, the real tragedy of all this? Kid Blink never lived to see squirt videos.
Yeah. It's too bad. He never got to see, like a swallowed raw, or any kind of, throat, ghetto gaggers, any of those, throated, those type of videos. Anyways, yeah.
Apparently this quote of it, like this idea that they were like gentlemanly, like kind of went a long way with the public, I guess. In supporting these kids more. They're like, oh yeah, they're kind of like, they're making trouble. They're throwing water on guys who also are like just trying to make a living or whatever. But they won't do it. They won't do it to a lady. So bless their hearts.
Yeah, they've got they've got some standards. They've got panache.
Yes. Can you just get to the sort of the end of it here?
Let's get to the crux of the matter.
Okay, so here's how it all kind of like panned out. The strike dragged on for the rest of July. In August, with their respective papers suffering from a huge drop in sales, William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer agreed to a negotiation with the boys. So they got to the negotiating table within like a month. That's pretty impressive.
Pretty good.
I mean, especially I don't know.
Especially because they're children.
There's also the children thing on top of it all.
Especially because they're children.
Saying, that's what
that's the most impressive part.
Even if these were not children, it would be impressive, at least by like modern day standards of what counts as a Union victory now.
Right.
That's kind of the main thing I was feeling while reading this. But
sure, but that's why like earlier the part with like bringing down the these titans of industry thing and like kind of you saying like that like they didn't bring them down or whatever. It's like, well, yeah, the point is that they brought them down to the level the two of the richest men in the world were negotiating with children.
Yeah.
That's what bringing him down means.
I got you. I feel like it could have been like it could have been written the way you said it.
Sure.
Like I didn't really take that as the implication. I thought it was more just like this kind of general statement of like the kids beat the bad guys. It's like they didn't like you got to qualify that like the way you just did.
You were thinking okay, this is going to be a tough one for me because I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about, but the Star Wars movie where the little teddy bear guys beat up the Empire, you know what I'm talking about? That's what you were picturing.
Yeah, that's what I had in my mind. The Ewoks, yeah. You know who the Ewoks are actually supposed to represent are
Jews. No,
the Vietnamese resistance.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes.
At least that's what I believe George Lucas has said, which is probably one of the cool.
See, and shout out to George Lucas because he just fucking says it. You know what I mean? He's like, yes, those guys, the weird fucking guys wearing the kimonos with the slanted eyes were supposed to be Japanese. The alien race that I called the Endorian fish heads. Yes, those are Japanese people. Not like fucking Dave Grohl, who won't just admit that the song that's clearly about Kurt Cobain is about Kurt Cobain.
The verdict is in. George Lucas is far cooler than Dave Grohl.
People have been saying this for years.
I was going to say something about George Lucas and I forgot. Oh, just to tack on to what you were saying. And yes, the landlord with the giant elephant-esque nose is supposed to be a shiesty landlord.
Uh-huh. You know.
Money. All I care about is the money. I think that's an exact quote.
Public credits? Public credits are no good out here. I need something more real.
I don't have anything else, but credits will do fine.
No, they won't.
Credits will do fine.
No, they won't. What, you think you're some kind of Jedi waving your hand around like that? I'm a Targaryen. My tricks don't work on me. Only money.
Yeah, everyone knows that's, that is what we call an ethnically Palestinian man.
Yeah. So originally the Newsies wanted a reduction in the price of a bundle of 100 papers, which increased from 50 cents to 60 cents. But the negotiated victory turned out better than a price reduction. This also means that they didn't get the price reduction. So here's what they get instead, though, which I guess probably makes up for it.
Real quick, sorry to interject, because I've interjected, we're supposed to get through this quickly, but it really just struck me that, like, this negotiations and all of this stuff, we're talking about it as a union, but it's not, because I've just kind of realized that the newsboys trying to get the price reduction on the papers makes it clear now that they're not employees. They are literally independent contractors that are paying for the cost of the newspapers up front and then turning a profit off of selling them. So not only is this a union of 12 years old, this is like a union of 12-year-old independent contractors.
Yeah.
This is insane. This is absolutely insane.
I think they did. It appears from this article that they actually did formally create a union as well. Like, it wasn't just them being like, we're a gang of boys. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Right. They just used the words formed a union. So I don't know. I'd have to probably read something else about it. But what they ultimately ended up getting was these titans of industry agreed to a larger, unprecedented demand. The Newsies could return unsold papers for a full refund. Instead of having to sell past midnight to make a profit, the boys could resell the papers back to the publishers, protecting themselves against a loss. The Newsies agreed, and on August 2nd, 1899, they returned to selling papers. This whole thing happened in less than a month. This was like 2 weeks.
That rocks.
Like 3 weeks, maybe, I think.
Hell yeah.
And then this is headline here is just funny. Young Mush, Crutchy Morris, and Kid Blink scored a victory against two tycoons. Again, that sounds like a slur when I say it there, especially when you say these old-timey nicknames and then say the word. But I think that's all she wrote, really. I mean, there's more to this article, but they just kind of just drag it out a little bit, just a little more.
Right, they get paid by they get paid by the word over on Ranker.
Yeah,
you get paid by the word.
So yeah, that's cool. And whatever. I don't even need to look at this other thing. But I said to you that, well, I just want to say what happened. So there was a bunch of unrest in Israel where Israelis they're finally mad about all the shit that's been happening for 11 months. So now they've taken to the streets totally in defense of Palestine. Oh, wait, never mind. Not at all in defense of Palestine, in defense of themselves, and how they don't like Bibi. I mean, with good reason, but they should dislike him for other reasons even more. Anyway, they were like, there was unrest in the streets. The police sprayed did you see this detail? They sprayed the protesters with quote unquote skunk water.
Oh yeah, I heard
I didn't
about that
look into if it's like, do they really like tap the anal glands of skunks? I'm guessing not. I'm guessing not.
No. It's much more civilized than that. From what I heard, it's like sewage water.
Oh, Jesus.
So yeah, it's not, it's obviously it's much safer and more healthy and just not completely fucking disgusting and literally like should be considered a war crime on its face. Yeah.
Yeah. So they, in getting whipped up into a frenzy, they're like, we're going to do a general strike. And their general strike was just really pathetic. They set a date and they had some kind of organization going on, but the whole entire thing fizzled out within a few hours on the first day. And there's a series of tweets just showing it from beginning to end. And you could see the timestamp, and it was pathetic, as I believe the headline I read on it said, just the word pathetic. And but then they were whining about it and saying, they were like, the only reason we stopped striking was because the government said it was illegal. It's like, wow, you guys are brave. Like, what do you think a fucking strike is? Like, even if striking is illegal, if you really believe in the cause, like, you would just go ahead. Like, you're risking arrest when you protest too. So yeah, it was just like a really sad excuse. It basically, like, the translation of that is, we would have gone on strike if we had gone on strike. It's like, all right. But anyway, props to Kid Blink and the others. Young Mush. It just made me think of like rapper names.
SoundCloud rapper. Yeah. SoundCloud rapper.
Have you heard the new Crutchy Morris?
Yeah. No, yeah, all these names are pretty good. More rappers need to be tapping into some
Kid
old,
Blink's not a bad SoundCloud rapper name, really.
No, that's a good one too. Yeah. Oh no, for sure. No, they really all are. I mean,
Young Mush is a little too silly, but
Young Mush is pretty sick. Actually,
I could see
that should be like a Russian rapper.
Someone who just does like the Cosby character, like mush mouth, but style rapping.
Yeah.
All right.
Mumblecore.
Moving on to our next and final segment. We watched a documentary about a little known influencer named Cobra Tate.
This is technically a jockumentary. Because it's about a kickboxer. Yeah.
Yeah, this fairly new documentary came out. I don't even remember where I heard about it. Doesn't matter. Put out by Sky TV, which I think is the same company that makes Sky News, the Australian company, like the super conservative news. But maybe it's not, because this didn't seem like it would have.
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even really think of Sky News as being particularly conservative. I wasn't sure where you you had that feeling about Sky News. I mean, maybe you're right, because I just think of Sky TV, Sky networks like that. And like, that's just like, it's kind of like an alternative to the BBC. It's not even like necessarily like politically slanted in any way.
Everything I've ever seen on Sky News is like, it's
on Sky News.
Yeah. It's like Fox News. It's like very obviously conservative.
I think that there might be a difference between Sky News and Sky TV.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Between Fox News and Fox, like the cable channel. You know what I mean?
Sure, and like the film company or whatever. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Like how like it's like it's like run of the mill, normal, mainstream, left of center ish kind of media. Versus the news channel, the news division being right wing or whatever.
Yeah, that's probably it. The only reason I'm even bringing this up is because that made me think, to kind of keep my eyes open for like a conservative bias or something, and there immediately didn't seem to be anything like that. It's, if anything, it's just like like you just said, like very sort of centrist, sort of lib point of view, I guess. Although they do platform a couple of people who are like pro Tate. Or at least one I'm thinking of, but anyway, we'll probably get to some
pro Tate sounds like not. This sounds like some kind of milk alternative. You know what I mean? Like, if you have issues with dairy, try Pro Tate. Anyways,
this documentary is called Doom Scroll: Andrew Tate and the Dark Side of the Internet. I'm gonna say just like up top, this was way more about the dark side of the internet than Andrew Tate, I think.
Yeah.
Like I
feel like it was very heavy-handed about that too.
In my notes at some point, I literally wrote, "Where's Andrew Tate?" ? Because like I got like lulled into the why the internet's scary.
Okay.
And I was like, oh shit, I forgot I'm watching an Andrew Tate thing, or I'm supposed to be.
Did you maybe this is kind of giving it away, or I shouldn't even like broach this subject here, but to that point, did you also feel like the documentary almost kind of presented the big bad as the guy from Instagram who said that he was the first person who instituted the algorithm? Like, it kind of felt like they were presenting him as the most evil person in the documentary.
Kind of. I mean, he was like, but they also like gave him screen time where he like sort of said like, they like kind of let him defend himself and like humanize him or something. Like, he was kind of like, oh, I didn't even really realize what we were doing,
Right. They gave him like a postscript where, like you said, they humanized him, where they were like, Yeah, like, be off the cuff. Pretend like you think the cameras aren't rolling. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of vibe. But, like I said, that was like a postscript after it felt like they had already set the narrative that was like, this is the fucker that did it.
Yeah.
The reason why everything is bad on the internet is because of this guy, you know?
Yeah, and who did he work for? Instagram?
Instagram, yeah. But it was like pre-Meta, too. It was like he was on Instagram before they were even bought by Meta.
Right.
Was when they enacted the algorithm, right? The algorithm.
Yeah, if anyone is the villain in this movie, the true, like, I mean, according to the movie, it's the idea, it's the very idea of algorithms and AI itself.
Right.
That's the problem. That's how you get Andrew Tate's, because of algorithms. So I guess you can maybe tell we're not necessarily like super floored by the documentary. It's not mind blowing, but
no.
Let's kind of get into it, I guess. I mean,
might as well.
Who's to blame for Andrew Tate? That's the thesis question statement.
So they show you his dad. They're like, maybe it was his fault.
Yeah, they like heavily imply that like maybe his dad like implanted toxic masculinity into him at a young age or something. But then they kind of like abandon that right away.
Right.
Yeah, the movie starts off with just like kind of an overall indictment of social media and like a history of social media, which is kind of dull unless you like really don't know about any of that stuff. It's like Facebook started it all, and Facebook led to this, and that led to this, and now we got TikTok AIs making Andrew Tates in factories.
Why does Friendster get the pass? You know, no one ever talks about Friendster.
Well,
MySpace
was huge, but I think they say in the documentary why Facebook is different, right? It's because they instituted the news feed, which was like hadn't been used before, I guess.
Sure.
Right. I didn't realize that. Actually, so I'll say about the history of it. There was a thing I didn't realize that I learned. I didn't know that it was such a controversial thing, because like I wasn't using Facebook at this time, I don't think.
You know what's funny is that they say that, but like the concept of the news feed, the way that Facebook rolled it out initially, was not novel to Facebook, because you had the same like paradigm, the same like, it's not algorithm, but you know what I mean. On LiveJournal. LiveJournal did the same thing. You had like a feed where you scrolled past all of the posts from your people rather than having to go specifically to their page to see it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's goofy to act like Facebook invented it, you know?
Okay. I mean, maybe they would just say like they were way more popular than LiveJournal or something.
Sure,
but I don't know.
I guess. But whatever, you know. You got to start somewhere. It's like libertarians, right? When do property rights start? Fuck it, Facebook.
Right,
Facebook.
right.
Because I mean, if you really want to look at it, the worst social media and the earliest and worst social media was like Hot or Not, right? If you want to be like honest, like, what was the worst, shittiest social media? Okay, and that was that existed before Facebook, and it was more cruel than any other social media.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, all you did was basically say if someone was hot or not, and you could literally comment, and tons of people were just fucking complete pricks calling people names and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but again, like I said, just like libertarians, you pick an arbitrary point and you decide that's where you start counting. You know, this is where it really started.
I was also out of the loop on Hot or Not. I mean, I think I'd like heard about it, but I've never actually like seen it, I guess. But it just reminded me of like this funny little anecdote from like another podcast. A guy said like he put one of his pictures on there, and the only response was, "He looked like Shrek." And that
was that Caleb from Pod About List?
No, it was Eric from We Hate Movies. If anybody listens to We Hate Movies out there,
shout out.
He's one of the anyway. I've mixed feelings about that podcast now. You still really love it, but this documentary. So they go into this whole thing about how, I mean, I think the reason they don't like go as far back, like you're saying, to like the true ancient texts of the live feed is it's just easier to be like Facebook, and because all the other companies that would come after were like obviously just copying Facebook, right? I mean, at least in that general technological sense, the same kind of model. But they also so early on they plant the seed of this idea of like how even people who were like protesting against the news feed were giving Facebook more engagement. It became like this gold mine, and Zuckerberg was like, the light bulb turned on over his head, and he's like, oh, controversy equals money. And like, so it's like, keep that in mind while you're watching the rest of this documentary. Like, even when people are like hating on you, you can still make a shit ton of money out of it. It's like the big central point they want to impart, which is true, of course, but I think that's kind of something that almost everybody understands at this point. Then they just go into like sort of Andrew Tate's backstory, which you could really summarize really quickly as he was a professional kickboxer. He felt he couldn't make enough money doing that. He goes on reality TV in 2016, Big Brother, which I didn't even realize they were still making Big Brothers in 2016. I thought that was like an early 2000s thing, but anyway.
They're still doing it now. It also was always more popular in England than it ever was in America.
Yeah, that's
even to this day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's like half British sort of by like I always wondered why his accent is so weird, and now I understand because I had learned a little bit more about him.
His accent is also so weird now intentionally. Because you can hear him early on, he had a different accent. He had a more just straight up British accent early on because he lived in England. And now he's clearly intentionally speaking in a different way.
But he also like grew up in America for a little bit too, right? And then
Sure. Yeah. But like even on Big Brother, he had a more just straight up British accent.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, is this guy from Canada? Like South Africa? Like what the fuck? Where is this motherfucker from? I hate your voice. Anyway. I don't think we should. I'm gonna try not to go into any like obvious territory about like why Andrew Tate sucks. I'm gonna assume if you're listening to this podcast, you agree that Andrew Tate is a shithead. I mean, a few things we're gonna like bring up, I guess, but like I'm more just saying that to myself right now out loud. So then he goes on reality TV. Within like I think it was 12 days of being on the show, he gets kicked off. And this is a weird thing that I noticed because they say he was kicked off because this video of him surfaced, or two videos of him surfaced apparently at the same time. One was of him like hitting a woman with a belt and like being real rough, and it doesn't appear to be consensual play as what, which is what he said it was. And then she even like came out and made a statement saying like, oh, he's a great guy. There's not a gun pointed at the back of my head right now.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be whatever. He's still an asshole. The other video seems like the other video of the girl with the bruises or whatever seems more clearly, obviously not any sort of consensual thing going on. It's just him abusing a woman and filming it. It's like, what with these people filming this shit? It's just so crazy.
Right.
It's like you almost, because like, obviously, the thing that drives Andrew Tate more than anything is wanting to be rich and famous. It's as simple as that. But it's like, can you imagine like what's going through his mind when he's like filming, like, show me your bruises, and he's counting this girl's bruises that he's just given to her, and like berating her, and she locks herself in the bathroom and all this shit. Like, you're just filming the whole thing, thinking, I'm gonna be rich and famous someday. Better film all this shit. Maybe this will make me rich and famous, which it actually, that's what it did, honestly. I mean, in a fucked up way. Like, I mean, it's, it's like the where do you want to begin the story again type thing. Like, did he start to get famous through kickboxing, whatever, and it just built slowly from there? But
that's the filming that stuff is kind of the only argument, and this is not a defense for Tate, obviously, because I do think he's a piece of shit, like, clearly. But it is, like, the only thing that kind of is an argument for, like, this was a consent play, like, BDSM situation.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, you wouldn't film that. You just wouldn't film that. Like, in general. Why would you?
Then you see the shit that he does later in life, the shit that he films. It's not quite as bad. It's not, like, quite as, like, obviously criminal.
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
You get my point, right? It's like, no, but you get my point. It's like filming. Like,
totally,
a sex tape,
yeah.
Where it's like, if you would do that, for the like the pornographic nature of it, not for like the incrimination nature of it.
I think the simple way you could find out if that's true or not is to look at like the longer tape, if it even exists for public consumption.
Sure.
Like if they don't end up like doing something actually sexual, then it seems to be that he's just like hitting a lady.
Well, that's not fair, because that's not necessarily the case, because not all BDSM play has to end with some form of like sex.
I understand.
That's not necessarily what it's always about. Anyways, but that doesn't matter.
I kind of
My point again, like I said, is I'm not trying to fucking defend Andrew Tate, because he ends up being a piece of shit. Like, he is a piece of shit. There's no question about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to just speculate on, what was the truth of the matter. But in any case, I guess my objection to that would be, like, I don't think he's, like cerebral enough for that kind of sex play where, like, you don't even get off and you're just, like, it's all, like, building up over, like, days or weeks. Like, he just seems too much of a fucking lunkhead for something like that. But anyway, it seriously doesn't matter whether these videos were, I mean, considering what he, ends up getting charged with later and is currently being charged with by the law and like all the shit that he says, it's not a crazy assumption to think that maybe he was just beating these women. But anyway, this is what gets him kicked off of TV, and he like immediately just like rides the wave of notoriety and parlays it in, like slowly parlays it into this influencer explosion, and he becomes rich and famous. I mean, from like 2016 to, I don't know, whenever he becomes truly like a worldwide well-known figure is probably like what, 2020, 2021, 2022. I don't think I knew who he was until 2022, and I found out against my will. I will say one thing about the documentary that rang really true to me just on a personal level was some of the shit about the power of the algorithm with respect specifically to Andrew Tate during the year of 2022. Because I was like, hey, that was the year I first heard of this guy. And he just popped up on like YouTube short clips for me and would not get off of them. And then I became like, fascinated and hate watching this guy because I had like no context for him at all. I was like, who the fuck is this weird guy and his brother? But anyway, that's how I first heard of Andrew Tate. And then I was like, slowly realized, like everybody knows who this asshole is, and he's an asshole, and he's, being charged with all kinds of horrendous crimes. And anyway.
The weird thing about that, the 2022 like peak of Andrew Tate thing was that like I never once got like algorithmically fed Andrew Tate content.
You said you don't like videos though, or something, right? So you don't watch.
Sure, I mean I don't watch YouTube and stuff. Yeah, but like I'm on TikTok. I go on TikTok and all that.
He was big on TikTok.
The domain of Tate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I never once got served like I saw plenty of the other shit like Fresh and Fit and all the other fucking bullshit Manosphere podcasts that we've talked about in the past here. But like never Andrew Tate, even though like he was supposedly the the most everywhere guy on the fucking on the social medias and all the algorithms. I just never saw it.
I think in the documentary they specifically say YouTube was like, I don't know, like churning him out like the most initially, like, and then I guess maybe TikTok caught up with them or something.
Yeah.
It just all of those like little details rang true to my lived experience with Andrew Tate.
Sure.
It's like 2022 YouTube Shorts, Andrew Tate. I was there.
Right.
Circling back, I don't know. I took a bunch of notes. I wrote the Facebook trance equals quaint. I also don't remember that being a term, but when people would just like, stare at Facebook for hours on end, they're in the Facebook trance. Then, like chronologically, basically after he gets like kicked off Big Brother, they go into Gamergate, which I think is where you maybe had something you wanted to focus on with Brianna Wu.
Yeah. So, like, the point is more like Brianna Wu, I mean, right here, and I don't know when this stuff was filmed, but in context now, I think, like, Brianna Wu has, like, discredited herself enough to where, like, a lot of people kind of question the validity of anything she has to say, right?
Yeah.
She's kind of, like, become, like, kind of a pariah, at least for, like, right-thinking, normal fucking people. And I do wonder, how that will affect, but I kind of talked about this with Alicia, after watching it, like the idea that maybe people will like reassess the validity of Gamergate as we were like kind of fed it by the Brianna Wu type, like because she's such an unreliable narrator now, and people are like willing to see how full of shit she is. Like, will people reassess their opinions on the entire Gamergate phenomenon because she's kind of the face of it? You know what I mean? And that did kind of cross my mind, especially in here, because she did the pat standard same thing she's said from the beginning, where she like kind of tried to turn it into this idea that like Gamergate is like the genesis of everything. And just look how it happens to be that like, I'm at the center of that. I'm the biggest victim of Gamergate. And actually Gamergate is the most important thing that's ever happened to politics and history and everything. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, if people will start to go like, you know what? Maybe there's something to the fact that this is bullshit, especially because in this documentary, they make it pretty clear. Like she tries to, I wish I could, I'm trying to think of the guy from Breitbart that was like, Trump's, worm tongue. You know what I'm talking about? He wears multiple polo shirts. Why can't I think of his name?
Steve Bannon.
Yeah. The idea that like, Steve Bannon learned everything that he did for Trump from Gamergate.
I thought that was hilarious when she said that.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible fucking horseshit. And then but then in the same documentary, they go like, once Trump is elected, he brings all of the tech billionaires into a room and he tells them all, I'm just going to make you all be very successful. And it's like, did he get it? Did he learn it from Gamergate, or did he learn it from all of the big tech companies? Did he learn it from Twitter and Facebook and all that? Like, were they taking advantage of social media, or were they adopting Gamergate and turning it into a bigger thing? Because it's very clear that that's what it was. Like, Trump was just a creature of social media. He wasn't trying to unleash Gamergate on the entire planet. You know what I mean? And that's like, are people going to reassess and reevaluate and look back on this and go like, we all got whipped into a frenzy about this thing, and a lot of people don't even really know what it is, let alone like what happened, and they really just take it at face value that people like Brianna Wu were being honest and telling the truth about what happened.
Yeah, when you say like he learned from X, Y, and Z, you're talking about Trump, not Andrew Tate, right?
Right,
okay.
Trump, yeah. Because my point is that Brianna Wu, as I said in the thing, like she tries to be like, once Gamergate caused Trump, Tate, you know what I mean, caused all of the terrible things that have ever happened. It all started at Gamergate, and it's like, okay, I really don't think so. You know?
A lot of the chicken or egg analysis in this movie is suspect, to put it nicely.
Yeah.
My only note on Gamergate is Gamergate equals shit I never gave a fuck about.
Right. Which is correct. That is the correct take. It's absolutely nothing.
I briefly was like, what's this about? All right. See you later.
Right.
I mean, of course, like it sucks if people are getting harassed, that there's like this online harassment campaigns and stuff, but treating it like it's this pivotal moment in history, the way Brianna Wu does, all in service of her own self-aggrandizement, like,
right.
Yeah, it's gross. And especially considering, yes, what we know about her now and how she fucking pals around with fucking Nazis like Richard Hanania, Mr. Narnia himself.
Right.
They're like best friends. Or as I put here, career built off of this bullshit. Now she's making Zionist blood oaths to Richard Hanania types. So then it's the first time in the documentary. Oh, go ahead.
Fuck. No. There was something good there, but I lost it. So
okay.
Sorry, I shouldn't have even interrupted.
It's the first time in the documentary they use the word manosphere is around here, and so they, we did like a whole episode about that and like barely scratched the surface because it runs deep and wide.
Yeah.
And they talk about how, I don't know, there were like all these splinter groups within the manosphere, but they were still kind of united by their victimhood narratives and, of course, by just misogyny. Some of this just starts to sound like a lecture from like NPR or something at a certain point, but
right.
Oh yeah, this is just something I thought was.
Go
ahead.
I did remember what it was. And I think this was important to mention, and I probably could have like circled back and came into this later.
No, go ahead.
But no. But the comparison, as you talk about it, like that, you know, Gamergate is this insanely pivotal moment in all of this. I think that you could say that it's more targeted and more intense harassment that has happened to Chris Chan over the years than happened to Brianna Wu from Gamergate. And we don't act as if that caused Donald Trump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't say Chris Chan is the reason why Donald Trump became president. And again, that is just because Brianna Wu was able to be like this sympathetic character that now, again, like people hopefully can reassess and realize that they got duped by a fucking snake in the grass. Anyways, sorry.
Whenever people want to say like why Trump became president, like obviously you can't really just say it's one reason, obviously. But if I had to just pick one, I'd say Hillary Clinton is the reason Donald Trump became president.
Sure. It's like when I was talking about like him getting the tech CEOs in the room and saying, I'm going to make you guys do well. It's like Donald Trump became president because of millionaires and billionaires, including Hillary Trump, Hillary Trump. Think about that, folks. Think about it, folks. We all love to think about
It's like when
Hillary Clinton.
It's like when Homer daydreams about himself having Marge's hair, and he's like, I don't need her at all. Yeah. It's just like this horrendous Trump Hillary mashup.
But you get my point.
Yeah.
The reason why Trump became president was because of millionaires and billionaires, including fucking Hillary Clinton. Because he was friendly with them, and he was always going to support them. And people like to think that the reason why people voted for Trump is because it was a bunch of jug hooting fucking yokels that believed that the big millionaire on TV knew what he was talking about. It's like, no, he won because of country club fucking freaks. You know what I mean? Like those are the people that voted for him. Anyways.
Yeah. That's a whole other, that's like another major thing about this documentary that couldn't stop thinking about really is like the total, I was going to say abandonment, but they don't even pick it up. Like this total detour around any sort of class analysis at all.
Oh, of course.
Like it's just AI and algorithms are the culprit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even as dumb as just the internet is bad or like Facebook or social media is bad. They go in deeper to like an algorithm, which one of the engineers I interview just like defines algorithm for them is like it's just a program. Like it just means program.
Everything. Yeah.
And like, but then like even
everything
after
is algorithms.
Even after he says that, like they have like this scary music playing underneath, people going like algorithms, the algorithm.
Yeah.
And look, I'm definitely not dismissing that there's like social ills, probably at the very least not helped by social media. But like, I'm very skeptical of the idea of like what comes first is social media. I tend to fall more on the side of like social media is more of an expression. And this is something that one of the guys, I forget his name, he's like the guy who spoke the most probably in the documentary, some sort of journalist, Mark something, I don't know. The guy with the beard and the glasses.
Yeah. The guy with the cat.
The guy with the cat at the end, so cute. He kind of talks about this at the very end. He's like, the tech guys like to think that like social media is like an expression of our psychology and of a society. And it kind of is that, but the fact of the matter is like they're actually shaping things more than we realize, etc. So that's kind of the crux of the whole thing.
Oh, you don't say. Like the invisible hand of the market, right? Like it's just a natural thing that happens on its own, just like fucking, the tech guys and their algorithm. Yeah.
They're divorcing all this tech world from, like what you just said, market-based global capitalism. You can't separate the two things. It just doesn't make any sense.
No.
I don't know. What else happened in this?
We talked about it a bit, and we both talked about like the idea that this thing was presented like doom scroll, Andrew Tate and the dark side of the internet, and there was a lot of heavy-handed stuff that was like, and Trump, and on account of Trump, the dark side of the internet
Russia,
is Trump.
There's a little bit of hint,
Russia,
little whisper of Russia did it in there.
And Trump, and it's Trump, and he is bad. And he's orange, and he's bad. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of that. It's like Andrew Tate, but also it was Trump because of it made him, but then it was also because of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're kind of doing that. Yeah.
But they're also like, it's they kind of want to like almost minimize Andrew Tate's responsibility for his own actions in a way,
right?
Where they're like, the only reason he could like rise to such prominence is because of social media. Well, it's like, well, no shit. The only reason anyone's watching your documentary right now is because of social media too. Like, everything is mediated through this stuff. It's not. It's just. And I understand.
It's the water we swim in, folks. It's the air we breathe.
Yeah, that's basically what I was gonna say. And like, but also I do understand that like there is like, you know, this targeted weird manipulation that goes on with the algorithm and with AI. It's true to some extent, but it's not like, I don't know. I guess maybe like maybe if I had kids or something, I would probably be more like freaked out about this stuff, because I guess imagining what this does to children's brains is a little bit more fucked up. But for people that didn't grow up with this stuff, who just got into it more like as matured people, I don't know. It just doesn't seem as big and scary to me as like movies like this try to kind of make it seem. But they do focus a lot on like, won't somebody think of the children? And not just the children, especially boys.
Right.
There's a huge focus on, you know, well, because it's about Andrew Tate, manosphere shit. You know, what about our young boys? Nobody's telling young boys how to become men and all this stuff. It's like what some of the talking heads were saying. Oh, right. This was just a thing I thought was funny. Some of the, like, they do, like, all these little, like, reenactment, like, vignettes, like, throughout the documentary of, like, one of them was, like, the camera panning across, like, it's supposed to be, like, a young boy's, like, I don't know, computer setup in his bedroom, and it's, like, literally, like, cans of Mountain Dew and, like, fucking pizza boxes and shit. It's like, and then it shows this hand, like, typing in, like, how to be like Andrew Tate on Google. But actually, that's not even the part that made me laugh. The part that actually made me laugh was, you see a shot of someone typing, quote, how to discipline your girlfriend with spooky music playing.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
I was like, who's
pretty good?
But then, like, later in the documentary, they did actually play a clip of Andrew Tate, and he said something about, like, he almost said word for word, like, this is how you discipline your woman or whatever. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people really were searching that.
Yeah, people were looking that up. How to keep a bitch.
I mean, whether people really do or not, it's still kind of funny, especially just like when it's thrown in as a little like a, I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of. Anyway,
interstitial.
That's right.
The thing that got me was the when they showed the kids with the tented fingers, they were doing the like specific Andrew Tate hand.
Oh
gesture.
yeah,
you know, that was fucking. Oh my god,
that must have been
like,
when the teacher, like the elementary school teacher,
was
saying like, I noticed all the boys started to ask me about my body count. I was like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I believe it, but it's like, it just sounds like something.
That's such a weird story. I really don't buy it. That was like, and that was not just in the documentary. That was like all over the internet at the time too.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so that's why it almost felt so forced, where it was like, oh yeah, remember that? Remember, you guys remember this? Or it was like, everyone was talking about how the elementary school kids are asking their elementary school teachers, why is she such a slut? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I guess if that was true, it would be concerning to some degree, but it's also like, look, again, Andrew Tate's a fucking asshole and a monster and should be fucking thrown in jail, whatever. But I think sometimes hysteria, like the fucking central point of this documentary to some degree, but then they seem to like lose the thread on it. How any attention given to something is feeding into it and only making it stronger. And they prove that throughout this whole documentary with this guy who's from some sort of like online advocacy group. I forget the name of it, but they're the ones who basically got Andrew Tate deplatformed, like the initial round of deplatforming or whatever. And they were like, success, we did it. They're all high-fiving each other, you know? And then he's like, but then it didn't do shit. And he continued to be rich.
But actually, yeah. And now, it was like now they were inviting him onto the news.
Oh, exactly. They only made him bigger.
Yeah.
Then he was on mainstream TV after that. Like he, doing calling Piers Morgan a cuck or whatever to his face.
Actually, not. He was like remarkably nice to Piers Morgan. And I think that was kind of part of the narrative.
There's one point where they're like throwing little barbs at each other, I think. But
sure. But it was like he was intentionally got on the news after getting deplatformed.
Yeah.
He got on mainstream news and played nice to cover. And then it was like, oh, this charming British lad, he's this evil monster. He seems so he seems so even-headed and so even-keeled. What are these blue hair internet SJ dubs going crazy about?
Right. Yeah, he definitely was like so obviously doing a rehabilitation tour of on the media, the mainstream media, the lamestream media, as I like to call it, and only I like to call it. Let's see, what are the other big points of this? We can kind of wrap this up, I think, fairly soon.
Yeah.
There's another point I wrote. There are conspiracies. They're just not stupid ones about feminism or video games or Q or Russia. They're about boring shit like economics, geopolitics, political coups, and the boring type of CIA and FBI shit. It's evil, but mostly dull compared to your, quote, fun narratives that you could meme about on 4chan. So that's kind of sums up almost all of my thoughts about... Right. That sums up my thoughts about the manosphere, I guess. Like when they're like saying, and Gamergate shit. Like, it's a conspiracy. Right. They're trying to feminize us, It's like, no, they're fucking not. There's no money to be made in doing that. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
If there was money to be made in that, then yes, they probably would be feminizing you. But there isn't, so they're not.
It's very funny because like even this documentary subtly like gives away the ghost on that early on when they talk about that the internet was targeted towards males because parents spend more money on young boys.
Yeah.
And, and everything in media and everything is targeted towards men because men have disposable income, blah, blah. So it is that thing. It's like, what would be gained by creating more women? They make more money off of men. If anything, it would go the other way. I didn't even
think of that. That's good.
And it's very obvious. It's like, why would they want to feminize men when it's like clear that they make, if anything, like I said, they would want to go the other way and they'd want to turn girls into boys. But you don't ever hear anything about trans mask people. They don't even exist according to the media, right? So yeah, it's very funny.
Because a few other just like bullet points, like in the
real quick, I wanted to debut a new segment on the podcast, and it comes out of the documentary. This is Tim's. Every week I'm going to do this. I'm going to call it "What's a Matter, Jew," and it's going to be me just taking it to the Jews for a second because I feel like they get it a little bit too easy out there in the But one thing that I did notice, I thought about that because I thought this thing crossed my mind as I was watching it, is just how annoyed I get at the fact that every fucking time they talk about racism, there's racism and anti-Semitism, and it does feel like this thing where it's like, you guys got to have your own special, you get your own special category. You can't just be part of everything else. You got to be, well, we're not just, we're the Jews. We're special. We're not just, you're not just being racist to us, yeah. And that, it did cross my mind every time they said, and they're being racist and anti-Semitic. And it's like, why is that the only fucking one?
Does that make anti-Semites the chosen racists?
That's true. They're the chosen bigots, I guess you would say. But yeah, that crossed my mind watching it. And then I was like, it is very funny to be like, I got to take the time to point out why these nefarious Jews have their own special word. They have their own special kind of racism.
I also wrote, as if I were in conversation with Brianna Wu, no, Hillary Rodham Clinton actually is evil for actual reasons. So shut the fuck up, Brianna Wu. She was like, she just in one of her stupid like monologues or whatever, she was like just talking about how people were being mean to Hillary and saying she's the devil. Yeah. And it's like, she fucking is, but just not for the dumb, like I already said in the last thing I said, but for reasons that exists and are based in fact, and not like she's drinking blood in a fucking pizza parlor basement. That's what I hate about like the way that liberals interact with right-wing conspiracies. They just completely fuel them and then miss the point, and then it's all done just as like a cover for their fucking beloved people like Hillary or whatever. It's like, we can't really like attack the right on grounds that make any sense. So we just have to say that we just have to call them stupid dum-dums or Russians even better, call them Russians and just leave it at that. You're a Russian bot. The end. It's like, no, you could actually explain why they're wrong, but then when you do in doing that, you have to explain why Hillary Clinton is in fact evil for other reasons. Yeah, so they go hard into Trump. They bring up Me Too, which I wrote next to in my notes. Me Too, failure, Biden killed it, Tara Reid, etc. So make of that what you will. They show how like Andrew Tate went to CPAC in 2019, which they show a quick snippet of Trump hugging the flag, which I'll never get tired of seeing. It always makes me laugh. And I just wrote, were we ever so young, like watching Trump hug the flag at CPAC in 2019. And yeah, it's just whatever. He's just like, he's just expanding his brand, right? That's all it was he's like getting in with like Alex Jones and like whatever, all these like further right-oid, media types. And then like, as all of these things kind of end up becoming Andrew Tate's like empire, his war room or whatever. I don't know. He had like several different of these fucking programs. His PhD course, pimp and hose degree, haha.
I was gonna say that we're the only podcast that doesn't have a PhD but has an MFA, a Master of Fine Ass.
True. All true.
Yeah.
Anyway. Hustlers University is like another side project, but like anyway, they're just so obvious on their face. Pyramid schemes, like they're like literal pyramid schemes, like getting these guys to go out and like rope more people into the scheme for like.
It's kind of sick though, because it's like it's a pyramid scheme that was adapted for social media. Oh no, where it's like
two worlds colliding.
Also, part of it is post videos of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sell my products, but also post videos of me on social media. That was pretty sick.
It's like those newspaper tycoons using the little kids for cheap labor. Same thing. That's probably enough about this movie, right? Like,
yeah. Fuck this movie. Fuck everyone involved in it, really. No one in it was cool, especially not Andrew Tate, but also no one else. They all sucked.
Yeah, I can't really think of anybody that I was like really nodding my head along with, like, yeah, this is good. This is interesting. My final thought on this was, the very last note I ended up writing down was, this documentary used Tate as a Trojan horse to get people to watch a documentary about why Facebook and TikTok are scary.
Yeah. And also Trump is bad.
And Trump is bad. Yeah. Like there really is. I didn't actually measure this, but I would guess that like
your penis?
No, that I measure every morning. But
yeah. I think my wife is stealing inches while I'm sleeping, so I have to check.
What was I gonna say? Now I'm just thinking about dicks.
Sorry. You said I didn't actually measure this.
Oh, I would wager that like the stuff about Andrew Tate is like 40% of the movie, maybe less. Don't you think? Like it really seemed like they were just like throwing him.
Yeah.
He was really an afterthought for the most part.
He was not a big part of it.
But it was and so I was like, so why did they even do this? There's already like documentaries that only focus on him. So at least I've read about them at this point now, that they exist. Like the BBC did some like in-depth Andrew Tate documentary or something. And yeah, then it just dawned on me at the end. I was like, oh, this was just to fucking grab my attention. If this was this documentary didn't have his name in it, way less people would be watching this shit. Like, I mean, I guess that's obvious in retrospect, but I didn't really think about it that way at the beginning, because at the beginning I was like, oh, it's just going to be an Andrew Tate documentary. And yeah, as the movie unfolded, it revealed itself to be much less of that.
the funniest bit about that is that, like, that is literally the concept that they're trying to decry about Andrew Tate.
That's what I was getting at. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Like it's this way of luring people in with like false promises, you know? It's like, oh, I'm going to teach you how to be a man and like be rich or whatever, get laid. And then like all you really learn is like how to make your life shittier and be more pissed off or whatever.
Right. Well, and it's especially galling because it's the Andrew Tate brand, and it's being like, all he did was make himself famous and make himself money, and all he did was, go off of his own name and try to make himself into a brand. And oh, doesn't that remind you of someone? And it's like this giant fat orange pussy, Donald Trump. He's just like him. They're the same kind of guy. And then it's like, yeah, but that's what you fucking did with this documentary also.
Yeah.
You literally were selling me Andrew Tate, and then you fucking swerved me and went like, check out this guy who did Code. He's actually an asshole.
Check out this French ? Guy who also did Code, but now he's a whistleblower by saying, "Did you know YouTube's bad, guys?" that's like all that guy's segment like amounted to. It was like YouTube bad, and I got fired for saying YouTube bad to YouTube.
Yeah. YouTube didn't like my YouTube sucks policy at work.
He was like, when I think he said he was surprised that he got fired. It's like, dude, you told your boss you wanted to do the exact opposite of what they want you to do. He's like, I want the users to be in full control of when they navigate our product. It's like, well, we're going for kind of the exact opposite of that. So you're fired, as a certain orange pussy likes to say. And I suppose on that note, I gotta recommend something here. I've got it.
The man
inside, as the hundreds of thousands of members of our Discord will know, I discovered this band that I really like very recently.
Linkin Park?
No. They're called Knower, as in Knower.
Oh, yeah.
They're just fucking awesome. I don't know. I could probably go on way too long about it, but I'm just going to link to their YouTube page because like I don't know. I discovered them through like watching their music videos, which they make themselves. Like they're very, I don't know. They film themselves in their like practice space, basically, or in a small hallway. So all the stuff where they're singing in a cramped hallway and playing music in a cramped hallway is probably their best stuff, and that's like their most recent stuff. And I'll just leave it at that. I think anything else will predispose people too much. I'm gonna throw in one more quick one. I was looking for that. Quote. I think the last time we recorded together a week ago, I said something. It was like about a guy on death row, and like I was having trouble remembering if it was from Oz or from The Wire. Well, anyway, after the fact, I ended up tracking it down. It took me like 2 hours. That I've got OCD problem or something. But anyway, I like went through this whole process of trying to find that. I finally figured out, okay, it was from the show Oz. And then I went on like the Oz subreddit after failing to find it and like, kind of crowdsourced an answer finally. But anyway, that's what it was from. And it was actually a guy. What was happening in the scene was the warden of the prison. He's like running to whatever, with a medic bay, whatever you call like the nurse's office in the prison, right? And the guy's like ODing or whatever, and he's like, "You gotta save his ass!" And he's on death row though, like they're about to kill him via firing squad, like in a day. And it's one of the funnier things from that show ever, and it's a really over the top, insane show about an experimental prison that was on HBO a long time ago. It's not, I wouldn't even call it a quote unquote good TV show, but it's worth watching, if that makes any sense. It's like, it's almost like someone took like elements of like a soap opera and then put it together with like the grimmest, most violent, dark, fucked up prison drama. It's a weird, like jolting combination. And, I haven't watched it for probably like over a decade, but like I think I went through the whole thing like at least twice back in the day. Because it becomes very I don't know, you get sucked into all the various dramas going on. And I'll just say the one last thing about Oz is that it's just stacked with awesome character actors. If you like Law and Order SVU, what's his name? Christopher Maloney. He's got a big role in there somewhere. Yeah. And if you like seeing guys fuck each other, you'll like Oz. There's a lot of that going on too. Uh-huh. Sometimes in a sweet, nice way. Sometimes not so much. Anyway, do you got anything on your mind you want to recommend?
Yeah, well, you said that you weren't sure if it was a good show, and it did cross my mind. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll recommend this is a good show for sure. It's on HBO, and it's called Industry, and I would recommend that people check out Industry.
You almost had me. I was about to fucking be a fucking school marm and correct you. You already recommended that.
It's a good show. I would definitely recommend people check it out. The new episode that just came out on Sunday, very interesting the way that they're taking things. The new season, you can kind of tell that they transitioned from one person being the main character to this other girl being the main character because she's more like conventionally attractive. She's got big boob, whatever. But yeah, Industry. I would recommend people check out Industry. It's a good show.
Nice. I've never heard this before. I'll have to check it out.
Oh yeah, you should give it a shot. I think it's like they're in like the third season, but they're going to do another season after this one.
Little Birdie told me the show is could be boiled down to kill the father, fuck the mother. So if you're into that,
that's pretty. Yeah.
All right, check out our Discord, which is in the show notes, which also has other things for you to check out. We have a YouTube channel, gradually putting stuff on there, but all the episodes are on there as well. If you like to listen to your podcast through YouTube. Although maybe I should stop recommending that because I'd rather people just download the episodes so I can like see the numbers or whatever. I don't really get to see that on YouTube. Anyway, do whatever you want. And rate, review, subscribe, smash that like button. Tim, you have another podcast. What's that all about?
It's on the Violent People website. Check out violentpeople.co. You will see my podcast there. It's colloquially referred to as QNTR, but that's not official. That is just what the fans have demanded it be referred to. And you know what? We let them have their own canon. That's fine. Check that out there. There's always a ton of interesting things going on there. And that's about it from me. Oh, you could follow me on Twitter at ROHDutch. That's it.
Nice. And as Andrew Cormac McCarthy Tate always says, the truth about the world is that anything is possible. Had you not seen it all from birth and thereby bled it of its strangeness, it would appear to you for what it is, a hat trick in a medicine show, a fevered dream, a trance bepopulate with chimeras having neither analog nor precedent, an itinerant carnival, a migratory tent show whose ultimate destination, after many a pitch in many a muddled field, is unspeakable and calamitous beyond reckoning. Good night, good luck, good morning, Vietnam.
Reflections, flashbacks, purgatory, I've
The first voice recording was made in 1860. It was a 10-second fragment of the French folk song Au clair de la lune recorded by inventor Edward Leon Scott de Martinville. But who will make the final voice recording and when? What will it be? Who will hear it?